And if you're asking yourself, why did Dr. Beam pick that music? I hit the wrong button. That's all I can say is I hit the wrong button. Kimberly Holmes is here with us tonight, and we'll be talking together. Welcome, Kimberly.
Thank you for having me, Joe.
And Kimberly just about lost it when that music came on.
We were having a dance party. Let me correct. Joe was having a dance party.
Okay, in this program, what we want to do is give you some specifics and how you can help the marriages of people whose marriages are in trouble. And before we start that, let me just say there's a lot of them. Mm-hmm. Right now in America, the current rate, according to the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, and you say, well, why would it come from them? Because they do a lot of statistical studies. They say that we have an average of 3.1 divorces for every 1,000 population in America. Now, that comes to a little over 1 million divorces a year, and it's been a little over 1 million divorces a year for a while now. So we understand that. We know that a lot of divorces are taking place. Right here in the state of Tennessee, from which we're broadcasting, we know that there are about 30,000 divorces a year just in our state. And 5 states don't even report those things anymore, including California and Georgia and 3 other states besides that. But understand that we know it's happening. Just tonight, a friend of mine called me on the telephone a couple of hours ago and said, I apologize for calling you this late at night. He's a good friend and a good man. It was like 6:22 in the evening. Well, this is not that late. How can I help you, my friend? And as we talked, one man that he reveres deeply is in marital distress. And my friend had just had dinner with him and heard about what this man was doing that's destroying his marriage and where it's headed. And as my friend, who was a great man, brilliant man, good man in so many ways, as he told me about it, he began to weep lightly because he was so touched by his friend's problem. You likely have people that you care about. I mean, people that are close friends of yours, or maybe relatives, a brother, sister, uncle, aunt, nephew, whatever. It's just rampant. It's everywhere. People having marriage problems. Beyond the 3.1 average divorce per 1,000 population, that doesn't count the people whose marriages are miserable. And there's a ton more of them. So what will you do about that? Now, obviously, we are in the, quote, business, end quote, of reaching out and helping marriages all over America and quite literally all over the world. And that's what we do every day, all day long. I'm not asking you to give up your profession to go do that. But I'm saying if there are people in your world that you really, honestly, genuinely care about, whose marriage is in trouble, are you willing to step in? Are you willing to do something to try to help that? A couple of years ago, actually a little longer than a couple, I was having lunch with 2 men, and one of them was saying, my marriage is in trouble. I went to the leaders of my church and asked them if they would help, and they said that they don't intervene in people's personal problems. I was shocked. I was taken aback. Really? Really? And so he turned to the other guy with me and he said, you're a leader in your church. Would you call my leaders? To which he replied, well, no, that's your church. I'm in my church. I got no business contacting them. And I couldn't help it. I spoke up and said, I'll talk to them. Ask them if I can. I'll come talk to them right away because they're abdicating their responsibility by not trying to help you with this. And I'll be glad to go in there and I won't jump on them. I won't yell at them. I won't chastise them, but I will do everything I can to encourage them to help. I have heard so many stories. A lady told me, well, my husband's priest. He's known that priest since he was a boy, won't get involved. So ministers, church leaders, friends, all kinds of people just ignore. As a matter of fact, some even encourage. Several years ago, I talked to a woman who had been having an affair, and she said, well, one of the upstanding, and I'm not trying to beat up church people here, please hear that, but one of the upstanding church ladies in my church that everybody reveres will actually drive with me to Atlanta on a Friday because we're going to go get a plane in Atlanta and fly to New York, shop for the weekend. My lover drives over to Atlanta for the weekend. My church lady friend gets on the airplane, flies to New York. I've already given her a list of what I want her to buy. She flies back in Sunday, and then we drive back home from Atlanta and all these things. And I tell my husband what a great time I had shopping. Look at all this stuff. And I said, that woman has never confronted you about what you're doing? No, she says she understands and she helps me do it. God forbid. So here we are in this situation. You know people. You know people who hurt. You know people whose marriages are in trouble. Will you help them?
You know, this is the biggest question that a lot of our people have after they've started working on their own marriage, and they say, you know, people just are coming out of the woodworks. I'm meeting people, or maybe I'm in a group at church, and people are just, they can tell maybe that there's something about me, and they come to me. What can I do from here on out? And I am so happy when people ask that question, because first of all, they're not wanting to just relish and live in their own pain. They're wanting to work past their pain, and they're also wanting to use what they've gone through to help other people. They see other people down in the pit that they used to be in, and they're putting down their helping hand and saying, you don't have to do this alone. You're not alone. You're not wounded. You're not worthless. I'm here for you, and we're going to get you through this. Now, the problem, Joe, is I've seen it. You've seen it. Many of these people, just as we call them, lay people, not people who are formally trained, you know, pastors, counselors, but just people, you know, like you, people, even like me, they just care a lot about people, but some people don't give good advice. They step into someone's life, someone asks them for help, and they start giving poor advice because they don't know how to help, or even sometimes what's worse is they don't say anything at all.
That's bad, but I think maybe the worst situation is when they say things like, well, you just need to get out of that. You need to leave. You need to go someplace else. There are a lot of people who will tell you that. Why? Well, some of them because of the fact that that's actually coming out of their own guilt. They left their husband or wife, and then when this thing happens, it somehow makes them feel a little better if the first advice they give you is, well, you just need to go ahead, leave, divorce, that kind of thing. Or the fact that they love you so much that they give you bad advice because they see that you're hurt, and then therefore they take on that hurt, and it's like, oh, that guy you're married to is evil, or that woman you're married to is just no good, a slut. And so saying nothing is really bad. I concur. But giving bad advice to people can actually lead them further away from solving their problems. Now, what Kimberly and I are going to do, and Kimberly is the Chief Executive Officer. She's the Executive Director of the nonprofit Marriage Helper. She has a master's degree in psychology. I have my PhD from the University of Sydney in the area of marital satisfaction and marital satisfaction and sexual satisfaction. We work with marriages in trouble about every day in some way, don't we?
Yes.
That's what we do. So we're going to give you a system that's pretty easy. Now, let me tell you this. In this session, we can't give you everything in detail. So we're going to offer something afterwards, right?
We are. We are going to offer a 3-part video series that Joe and I are going to do to help you know how to talk to people, to know how to approach people, and even something that you can even share with your friends who might be going through this to kind of aid you and support you in your quest to help marriages.
You'll have to use your judgment as to whether to share it directly with them or not, or just to use those principles. Oh, and how much are we going to charge for this?
Nothing.
Exactly. We're going to give it to you for free. So how can they contact us to get that?
So the best way for you to contact us if you're interested in getting on that list is to email help, HELP, at marriagehelper.com, and just in the subject line, write the words helping troubled marriages. Just writing helping troubled marriages. You can write something in the body if you want to or not, but we'll make sure that you get those videos as soon as we have them ready.
Okay, so that's Marriage Helper, marriagehelper.com.
Well, it's actually, they're going to email help at marriagehelper.com.
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't say that correctly. So to that, and just put something about helping troubled marriages, helping marriages in trouble. I mean, phrase it well enough that we know what it's about. Yeah. And we'll let you know when those things are ready. Now, let me start by teaching you something, and Kimberly and I will do this together, something about, well, a system that you can remember to help people when you discover that their marriages are in trouble. Actually, this same system can be used to help people in any kind of trouble, but we're going to make it specifically apply to marriages. Now, I'm going to use the 5 fingers of my right hand or my left hand. Just use whatever hand you want. If you want, you can actually take a piece of paper and trace your fingers if you wish to do it that way, because it's going to be a kind of a finger exercise to help you remember how to do this. And each one of these, let me explain it this way. We'll start with the thumb and move over toward the pinky finger. Each one will stand for one thing that you do. Hear this. I'll probably say it again as we go through it, but I want to make sure you hear it now. If you move to another one and it's not working, move back one.
Mm-hmm.
So if something's not working, you move back one finger, you move back one principle, one point, and do that. So Kimberly, the thumb. Now we call this the easy method. It's not particularly easy, but we call it the easy method because each point starts with an E. Mm-hmm. And so let's hold up the thumb there, Kimberly. That thumb, what E?
The thumb is the ease, because, and the way you can remember that is because thumbs make things easy for us. As humans, we have thumbs, and so we're able to pick up things and do things that other animals aren't able to do that don't have thumbs. So the thumbs make things easy. And the principle that goes along with this is especially when you're working with someone who's in a very troubling situation, they feel hurt, defeated, betrayed, all of these emotions that go along with people who are in marriage crisis, they're usually on the edge. They are just very emotional many times. Usually they're just not at ease. And so the first thing you want to do is put them at ease and calm them. Many times when I've had some of my friends come to me when things have happened in their marriage, they're frantic. They feel like everything is crashing down at once. They just feel like they're in the middle of the eye of a hurricane. I mean, everything is crazy around them. And so the first thing that I do with them is I sit them down. If I'm with them in person, I'll sit them down and I'll say, okay, let's just take a deep breath and calm down, because we're going to work through this. You know, I'm here for you. We're going to talk about this over the next however long it takes. So I'm here. Let's just take a deep breath and let's talk through this together.
Which means that you have to be calm.
That's right.
Laid back, easygoing.
That's right.
I mean, you don't look at them and say, I'm here to fix you. That definitely doesn't put people at ease.
No.
A fellow several years ago, I remember, said a guy that I worked with just kind of opened up for about 20 seconds a day and said his marriage was in trouble, and I didn't know how to respond. And now I want to talk to him about it. Now that, Joe, I've talked to you and you told me how to do it, but he doesn't mention it anymore. And, you know, we were working together. I can't just walk over and say, let's start back where we talked about your marriage problems, because he won't do it. Mm-mm. What do I do? And I said, you look for a situation when he will be at ease. So take him to lunch and just talk about work. Talk about things where he's not feeling ambushed, okay, where he can get comfortable with himself. Mm-hmm. Now you're saying, wait a minute, you mean that sometimes it's not the other person coming to us? Sometimes we should go to them? Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Just the other day, and it's not quite what I'm explaining here, I was with a friend of mine. We were doing some things together, and though his teeth were smiling, his eyes weren't. And so when we finished up the work we were doing together, I said, can I just speak to you privately? And we went into another room and sat down, and I just started off with some easygoing things just to put him at ease. And we chatted for maybe 10 minutes about various things. And then I said, and we'll leave this in a couple of minutes, I made a transition into, so I can see something's wrong. You're my friend. You can trust me with it. So put him at ease. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about it. You say, yeah, but would you ever walk up to a complete stranger and do that? Actually, I have. It's pretty rare, but if you see a person who's just in great pain, it's okay to walk up to a person. I actually have walked up, like I'm thinking right now of a woman who was just standing there and weeping. And I walked over to her and said, are you okay? Which is the natural human thing you would say. And of course she said yes, even though obviously she was not. And so I knew, well, if I'm going to help this person, I've got to put her at ease. And I said, okay, I can see you're hurting. And I know I'm a stranger and you may not want me in your life, but I'm a great listener. And if you just want to talk, I'll stand right out here in public with you, and you don't have to worry about anything about